we actually have to score, which is basically indent into the paper so that it can properly fold around this, what we call perfect bind. So it has this flat edge right here, and that basically keeps it from cracking.
If you think about when you're going to make a paper airplane, before you get ready to fold it, you crease it. So that's what scoring is essentially putting that crease in there so when you do that final fold, it doesn't crack the ink.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the FIP Printing Pros podcast. I'm your host, Josh Steinison. With me, my co-host, Chris Lockwood.
Afternoon, evening, morning.
And we are continuing our series on just different topics that typically are frequently asked questions from our customers, and kind of giving them a little more education on kind of what to expect on different things in our industry. And today our topic is going to be on finishing touches and just different type of folding score, like the different things that that are the extra add-ons at the end on finishing the product.
So we've picked our paper.
Yep.
We've picked our finishes, and we picked any design, and then any special like textural feel to it. Now we got to fold it. We got to cut it. We gotta prep it for being done, right? It's printed, so now we're at that point.
Yep. So this is basically what we call the bindery side of things, and like what all happens on the back end of the job after it's printed, designed, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And as far as so just to bring out some examples, so we talked about as far as like booklets, some different things, as far as what your different stocks and all that kind of stuff. We talked about cover stocks. Now, this is where a lot of times, again, just to recap, cover stocks are your thicker stocks that typically you do need a scoring. And what I mean by that is obviously you see a fold here and a fold here. We actually have to score, which is basically indent into the paper so that it can properly fold around this, what we call perfect bind. So it has this flat edge right here. And then that basically keeps it from cracking and things like that when you score the paper.
So essentially, if you think about when you're going to make a paper airplane, right? Before you get ready to fold it, you kind of
crease it.
You crease it. And that's what they're doing. And then you can do your fold and you unfold it and you crease it the other way. So that's what scoring is essentially putting that crease in there so when you do that final fold, it doesn't crack the ink.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And we do this on our thicker stocks before we do the folding or anything like that. But we also we will do folding and things like that on other items, obviously. But again, going back to the stock, if it's the internal text stock, which is the lighter paper, we don't need to do a score before that. It's that process is just on basically the thicker stocks that we have to do that on. And that same thing goes on. So this one we didn't have to, but even like a saddle. So this is perfect bind. Perfect bind is the flat, basically.
Edge. Think about the spine of a book.
Spine. Thank you. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. The spine, where it's flat spine there, and you can put a whole design down this whole thing if you wanted to. That's that. Then you got saddle stitch, which is basically it's just a straight fold with a staple holding it together. The perfect bind is glue. So it'll glue in there. This is just a staple holding it together. Way cheaper process. The perfect binding is a lot more. However, it is a lot more durable over time and everything, the way it's made. And that's more your magazine style, plus more pages. Like this one, I think is almost 90 pages. Saddle stitch, you start to get a little too much when you get almost in the almost 60 page range. Then it starts getting too thick and then harder to fold and get the staple to where it doesn't bow out in here and everything like that.
Think about when you have a whole wad of dollar bills. For me, it'd be 50-cent pieces. You can't fold them over. If you have too many, you can't fold them in half. Whereas if you just have 3 or 4, you can fold them perfectly flat. But if you got, $100 worth of ones, it's not going to fold
Exactly. Yep.
the right way. Yeah.
Yep. And another one for like booklets. This one's actually a menu, but same style as if this was a booklet. You get your spiral bind. And again, typically for menus, we'll do this a lot because we're laminating them and they're thicker, and you can't really staple this or anything like that together. So we will do a spiral bind for this. Or a lot of our customers, they just do a one-page menu where it's front and back instead of having multiple pages. But this one has multiple pages. They want it on there.
I've also seen the spiral on like certain instruction manuals and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So, and again, like I said, that's book. Pretend this is a book. Same thing with the perfect bind. The more pages you do, a lot of times we'll have to do a spiral or a perfect bind. Again, these are usually more expensive because this is a more manual process, and that even perfect bind has a little manual process to it. I mean, you can get machinery that does it, but still it's more steps involved. And that's kind of the different things for like booklets, what I would say. And then you got, as far as just general folding, we brought this out for another one, but you got the fold here and a fold here. And again, you had to do the score. I don't know if you can see this, but there's an indent there because we pre-scored it. And then so that makes that fold easy, and then fold there, for that one. Or just this like, thought I had a different one. Here we go. This is like a holiday card, and then we pre-scored it right here. And then so it just easy folds for a thank you card. And then I would say a trifold. This is a big version of a trifold. Normally they're like half this size.
Yeah.
But this is a bigger one. And then, so it kind of gives you your different ones. You can do Z fold, you can do a half fold, you can do, quite a different options on the folding side of it. But as far as that goes, that's kind of the big things there for the folding scoring. If you want to leverage different print and promotional products for your company, but don't know how to go about doing it, click the link below and let's schedule a free strategy session with me, and I'd love to help you guys out. Look forward to talking with you.
If you have a booklet or something, you're going to tear something off of, what is that called?
Perforation. Yeah, so like think of like back, I don't feel like a lot of companies do it much more these days. Like when they throw them in the news, well, we used to have newspapers and that was the big thing. So we don't get a lot of that now. But sometimes they'll still send them in the mail where you can perforate and tear off a coupon.
Yep. Coupon, order forms.
Or like even like Burger King comes to mind. They still send coupons in the mail. However, they've saved money and haven't done the perf, a lot of them. Which makes it a little harder for everybody. You have to either cut it out or tear it out.
Take the whole card in with you.
Or yeah, if you need to, but to make it easier on your customer, you could set up a little perf. It's not crazy extra expense, but you're talking Burger King, they're sending out millions and millions of them. That little bit extra probably saves them quite a bit of money. Then you also got, and I didn't bring samples of the perf. I didn't bring samples of like a die cut, but a die cut, a good example is like a door hanger. So you think about the little hole, and then it's got a little slit. So basically that's a machine that we put it through, and it's a special die we have set up, and when it goes through, it basically punches it.
Stamps out the hole and cuts that line in
Yeah,
there.
cuts the hole, and then the little line that, you can slip it over the door hanger. Or over the door or over a mirror, whatever. We do hang tags too, which is very similar for like parking tags and.
Yeah, and most of these are done on a machine, so they're done
Yep.
in mass, and it runs them through.
Yep.
Now there was one thing when I first started working for FIP that I don't know why it made me laugh like it did, but when you get the little notepads, right? You go somewhere, they got a little notepad, like hotels and stuff like that, little notepad. And there's a table in the back that is just covered in glue dripping. And all they do is they print out all these sheets. They slip a piece of cardboard in between however many sheets, and then they just slap glue all over the back. So this thing will be like 2 feet tall of these pads, and they just slap glue on it, and then they have these clamps that just clamp it down, and then it just sits there and dries.
Yep.
And then you go through with this little knife, and it was so satisfying. You just go through and you just right underneath the cardboard, just cut it off, and all of a sudden you have 100 notepads.
Yep.
And it just, I don't know, it made me laugh to like hear these things that we take for granted, and like this is how they're made.
Yep.
It's literally someone who stacks them up, slaps all this glue on the back, walks away, lets it dry, and comes back and cuts them apart.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the bindery side is honestly one of my. I actually enjoy it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't do it much because I'm focusing on other things usually in the business. But I actually enjoy it because you can just throw headphones on, whether podcast, music, whatever, and it's kind of, I hate to say it, like not boring work, but it's just like mindless work.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. It's just mindless work. So like you just repetitive actions.
Get into a rhythm, or you're just watching a machine just. There's the one where you have the collator. This guy, you'll have like 10 different pages, and it's just like random sheets of paper, and you send it through. Not random, but it's all different sheets of paper, and then when you send it through this machine, there's like 4 different things that happen, and on the other end, it kicks out a perfectly folded booklet.
Yep. So
you just gather them up, you put them in a box, and you move on to the next one.
So for a booklet, when it goes through our collator machine, basically you have the different tower. There's a tower, and then each of them have the different platform, and then you put them on there. And here's cover, the next page, this page, and they're all in a certain order based on how it goes in the book. Because you have to, when you think about it, printer spreads is different than just page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can't do it that way. You got to do like, okay, here's the inside one or outside cover. So that's boom, boom. But then now that next page technically will be a different one because that's not
because you got 3, 4, front, 5, back, and then
yeah. So it's like you got to put it in the printer spreads and put it in the right order so that when they come together and collate down the machine, they all come together to create the book. And then it goes through, then it immediately pushes it together, make sure it's all pushed together properly, and then it slides in, puts the staples in, then moves over to the next space. Then the machine pushes it up to fold into a booklet, and then it moves over to then the cutter that cuts off the little excess. Because when you have to add a little excess because when you're doing saddle stitch, like I showed on that one book, I brought it in here, didn't I? Yeah, here. You get more of that, a little bit of push out on the edge here. So you have to give it a little extra so it trims off the little extra.
So it's an even booklet.
Yeah, it gives an even booklet. And so that's the collator. Then a lot of times we'll have people that also, they want a bundle in 500, 250, whatever, and they want it shrink wrapped. So then we run it through shrink wrapper 100 at a time, shrink wrap that, run it through the heater, and then you have your boxing it up, making sure if it needs any, if it's just paper, a lot of times we don't do much extra than just put the paper in there, box it up, label, and out the door. But obviously there's some things, like especially signage. If we do any of that, a lot of times we might have to wrap them specially so that if they rub in there, it doesn't rub off or anything, whereas paper is not going to be an issue. So there's just some extra things that a lot of people don't think to take into account that we kind of make sure on our end. I'm trying to think if there's any other machines. The cutter, obviously, that's the big one. We didn't talk about that, but that's a before and after because we get large 23 by 35 sheets. Now we do have a printer that does 23, 35 sheets. And so if we use that one, we do the full sheets and get as many up on that sheet we can. That's for larger orders. But for some of our smaller orders, we have to cut that sheet down into fourths, basically, to run on the smaller ones before we even run it to get the specific size we need. And then at the end, then you still have to cut it down if it's maybe you get 4 up, 6 up, 16 up. It just depends on the size of what it is.
Essentially what that means is the number of individual pages on one piece of paper.
Yeah.
And so then you got to cut it down to those individual pages.
Yeah, like business cards, I think you can get 25 business cards up on a sheet. And that's a smaller sheet that we're doing that, not the 23, 35. That's that's the cutting that down into 4s, and you still get 25 up on that because it's so small. And then you have that many cuts, so you got to literally cut, and then flip it and cut. So it's like it's
very time consuming.
Yeah, it's time consuming, but also like you've always said, like it's one of those like videos when you're watching it, it's just visually.
Yeah, you can just watch it. Oh, it just if you go to the shorts on here, there's some of those videos where you can see them just. And it's what's it called? ASMR.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It mesmerizes you a little bit when you're watching the process. But yeah, I mean, as far as there's other things that I could probably think about, but those are the kind of the main ones that we really utilize in the back. You have other finishes like, laminates and things like that you throw on. Like we talked about, foils and whatnot. But for the most part, those are kind of the main things. We have different machines, obviously, that do different things on printing. Signage has a different sign or machine than the regular printers. We got digitals, offsets, like all that kind of stuff. But we won't go into all that. We're focusing on more of the finishing stuff today. And I think that'll wrap this up, kind of discussing this. And again, we'll continue the series next week. Tune in, and until next time, let's grow together.
It's time to step up, yeah, it's grind time, no more letting up, no, running faster, further, no more running up, yeah, giving my all, no more giving up, listen to me, step, it's time to step it up.